What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. I'm just gonna cut loose this video. I've about had it up to here. Is Ancient Guardians the worst set of all time? It just might be, despite having 3 interesting archetypes inside. I actually like the Ogdoadic a lot, but it has its consistency issue, stopping it from being a mainstay in the competitive metagame. Then you have the Sutff. I highly underestimated these. Sutff has shown me the way, yet they are still struggling to really produce results. And then finally you have the Space Bears, and this is where I lose it. I, coming into the set, said this archetype is way too fair to likely be a mainstay in the competitive game. And I let you down easy like that, right? But the 7 Space Bear players come out of the woodworks with the phrase, if I had $1 for every time I've said it as Market Man, where my job is to assess a set as it's coming out and tell you, should you be buying the singles? Is this interesting long-term sealed, which has really turned around in the last 2 years, and I was ahead of the curve. I'm not always going to be right. Even as a Market Man with 20 years of experience, having won, it's rusty, I know, but having won an event and having the comprehensive ability to actually read cards sometimes, right? Well, when I call these too fair, you know what I get met with? You're stunting the potential of these cards, John. They're not even out yet. Somebody could break them in. This isn't the OCG. You know what? The OCG has a pretty good track record as well of finding out what is pretty darn good. But they do have a different format with things like Maxi, and we have TCG exclusives and that sort of things. But with Space Bears, they just have too much cost to end up doing their plays if any of their plays get stunted. Their resource management just wasn't there. Do they have future potential if they get like a Space Bear double helix and some other cards alongside it? Yes, but they need more than a double helix. They don't have everything there together. Now, that being said, I would, if I had $1 for every time I heard that phrase, probably already have my forever home, and it would be way nicer than what I'm planning for. Probably even a greater amount of money than I get from people using code What'sGood5 for 5% off to support the channel directly. And with that segue, I want to thank Stay Classy. They actually released the Tiramisu Field Center last night, 300 copies of it, and they sold out like that in just a couple of hours. So I hit up the owner. I said, I've got people that are disappointed. They missed this drop. They didn't even know it was coming. I didn't know it was coming, and I hit them up the moment I saw the email live. I had to get notified that way, and then I did my shout out. So they actually took my advice and did a non-serialized run, and it will be up for a week as well. So you have a limited time to get it, but there are unlimited copies within that window. That's not an unlimited run, though. It is still limited. So you can use code What'sGood5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly if you're not baby raging at me at this point in the video. Now let's calm down and take a financial look at this set and how it's turned out. Is it fair to use finances to really dictate if a set has flopped or not? A little bit. I'll actually give a counterpoint to the argument upcoming that Genesis Impact actually has a pretty decent couple of collector rares, not a ton of them, and several decent archetypes between, you have the Live Twins, you have the Drytrons, the Magistus didn't really turn out all that great, but Artemis did get played and invoked. Yep, it helps normal summon Alistair all the better. The Live Twins, they're kind of meta in terms of Konami actually getting what the kids are into with VTubers and then Phantom Thieves, but Drytron's where it's at, right? When we have this conversation, this had a meta impact to where it immediately caused Ben 10 to end up on the F&L list, and then even had future support coming to help it and revolved back into the metagame. It's really a cool deck, yet its price hasn't panned out because the side sets just don't feel the same when we're talking about deck building sets. You don't have the secret rares and then the supers, these all foil sets. You get rares and then you have collector rares as a chase card, yet you have 15 different collector rares and you're seeing one collector rare every 3 boxes. So the collector rare choices ending up mattering more than having a meta archetype within these deck building sets now, it feels like. And that's kind of insane, right? Like, the point of the set is the new cards, not what you're necessarily collector raring, in my opinion, and you have a shorter ratio on your pull rates than ever because the ultra rares, you're only going to have 10 different ultra rares, but 3 per box, leaving you to 36 per case. That's barely over a play set of each on average math per entire case of these sets, yet the prices they're bottom out cheap for a meta deck here, and they're even cheaper for fun decks. Now, in Ancient Guardians, you do have 3 pretty good collector rare choices outside of the archetypes inside: Pankratops, Skullmeister, and Trade-In, followed up by Snake Rain as kind of a meme that actually did see a bolster, but since the set has released, Pankratops is the only thing holding any kind of value. It started at 120, fell to 105, bounced back to 120. Skullmeister started around 120 and is a format-dependent hand trap, making this an interesting investment point, but being 1 per every 4 cases on average, because each case will have 4 collector rares, meaning to pull 16 of these to encompass 15, you would have to open 4 cases. Well, it's pretty darn hard to pull a Skullmeister, isn't it? So could 1 card alone impact this entire future set? Not the most likely, but people could chase after it. Weirder things have happened. Then Trade-In, I think, has a really good long-term potential as a draw card. You know, it's generic with level 8, still that is a specific level, but it's a really good draw card in general. You have past formats that'll want to eye it a little bit and maybe move forward, and it's played in a lot of degenerate decks, and degenerate deck stuff tends to go up in price. No cap, it really does when you look at like Exodia, Magic, Library, OTK, some weird pieces end up going over time. The rest of it, though, let's call $60 the average for a box coming out. A set that hasn't even had time to really be chewed on, that hasn't really been met with a lot of opinions. $60, I'll take the box. I like Yu-Gi-Oh!, that kind of thing. That's the going rate on release, right? Well, you only have 3 or 4 collector rares really beating that price, with now even Ogdo Abyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord, starting to go under that. Look at all these listings right at 60 as the snakes are wrapping around themselves trying to get sales. You do have sales above it, but look at this awful sales rate. That is just not really fun to even laugh at. Snake Rain did go up for the meme, and people started playing this in the Ogdoadic deck, whatever Konami's changed this name to. But seriously, Snake Rain saw it as a meme, it's jumped to 80, and it's only gone down really since. In the rest of them, they don't even meet back your box, and these are cards that are 1 per every 3 boxes, and a lot more than just 4 cards should be that impressive, right? You're talking 4 out of 15 getting you the money back on your box, and that's a pretty ridiculous rate. When we actually compare it to Genesis Impact's collector rares, you have 1, 2, 3, and then it starts to drop off also. You have 4, 5, 6 between these, and then it's a little more, but others have fallen, they've risen, they see more play, less play, that kind of thing, right? But overall, you have the leaders out in front even more, and the rest of them now. You had a meta deck in Genesis Impact, and it still flopped on its face. Look at these prices on boxes right now. Also, with that price dipstick, for argument's sake, you have these boxes selling at $43. 2 left, $45, $46, 1 left, and then $55, still at the rate where a vendor's like, please take it from me. I'm just gonna eat the shipping fee, the TCG player fees, take it out, I'll take a small loss. They want to get it off their shelf, get their money back, and get their money turning again. 20 boxes, 10 boxes, 25 boxes, 6. You have to undercut these guys if you want to make a sale. All top-rated sellers trying to really get out there, and look at the sales history. 42.57, 42.57. Please get it out of my store is what the vendors are screaming right now. Does it have potential to turn around? Yeah, some of the best, worst sets, but best examples of this moving forward would be Shadow Specters. This was $30 on shelves for years, no joke. And finally, people started to eat up every Ghost Rare, Ultimate Rare. You can't always see the future. Maybe this could one day happen with collector rares. I find that unlikely with the amount of choices. But seriously, maybe sets with them start to appreciate for the nicer ones. You see that these have really helped the set out to be successful, finally super long-term out there. And for sake of argument, Shadow Specters is considered one of the argued worst sets of all time alongside Cyberdark Impact, but Cyberdark Impact is conceived as better overall by the community, or perceived, I should say, because you have Vanity's Fiend, you have Vanity's Ruler, you have Instant Fusion, you have all the barrier statues, you had Snipe Hunter for Meta Impact as well, you had Black Horn of Heaven, you have Chain Strike, actually with Chainburn getting a lot of tops, you had a lot of stuff that actually aged well out of Cyberdark Impact, despite it being pretty dead on arrival at first. Vanity's Fiend is just an insane card overall. So with Shadow Specters, let's argue it versus Ancient Guardians right now. Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand had a meta impact. Alucard had an immediate meta impact and was pretty good back row removal for a long time. Return of the Monarchs had a meta impact when we reimagined Monarchs as a whole, right? And then you have Mistake, which actually went up to $60 from $20 and then fell back on its face again, but was used for some time as a tech in metagame. So you hear that word meta impact a lot. That means it saw top cut play. It was able to get into the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. And for rogue options, you do have Melee of Trees. Labradite Dragon, I believe, saw some combo play. And the Ghost Tricks, if we're talking interesting archetypes, are a huge fan favorite. When we look at Ancient Guardians, the collector rares are the only defensible thing besides future potential. There's that phrase again, potential. Did the potential pan out yet? No. Will you get extra support for some of these decks in the future? Yes. Will they bring it to the forefront of the meta? That's the question. Can this set be saved? Right now, as it stands, I think it's one of the worst sets of all time. Somebody brought up Infinity Chasers in our Discords, but you have the actual part of Infinity Chasers, you know, the machines, the Infinitrax, they actually have results in metagames with trains and mixes with Machina, Machina, whatever you want to call it. It has an impact, where this, currently as it stands, is really struggling to find its way, and it has as low as $20, $25, really bad prices on collector rares. In fact, I think Coolia started out towards the top of the set at 80 and is now down towards 30. It's unprecedented to actually see almost every single ultra rare when you're talking about 3.6 per case at under $10, except for Fancia. I keep murdering her name, I'm sorry. Thick thigh girl with mid-drift that looks nice. She seriously is around $11, barely above 10, and you're talking about cards that you only get 3 per box of. The estimated value pulled is terrible. I saw this coming from a bit away and was hoping that the reprints and collector rare choices would save it, and I did not have faith in Konami to do that still, and warn you guys, stay away from the sealed, wait. And then the future potential, what's better actually? To call your shot on the singles and invest in those, or the sealed for how rare it is to pull them and how little this was open? I would definitely go with the singles. Even still, if you're thinking about sinking your money. Not a financial advisor channel, but that's how I would personally approach it, is you would make a way better percent of profit deciding which ones to choose after, rather than probably the sealed product even on the deal. But hey, time will only tell, like with Shadow Specters, and sometimes sealed just wins over time for the sake of being sealed and being somebody's set that they entered the game with, and it becomes harder to find. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Is what I would say. I actually had a Market Watch planned, but then I went to this rant video. But thanks for watching today's video. Brain's a little fried from just comment sections running through the past and all that, just looking at people's actual reactions to the reveals and what I had to say. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these kinds of conversations and it doesn't get you hot under the collar and get you steamed. But some days you just gotta let them know. And this was definitely one of the ones. You gotta let them freaking know.